out my live stream, you saw that I tore this whole thing apart. I got the cylinder heads off, oil pan, the windage tray. For a motor that looked kind of junky on the outside, at least it looks good on the inside. So the good thing about this, guys, this does have the Gen 4 rods. And I'll do a little side-by-side comparison. Look how clean that bearing is. So this is a Gen 3 rod. You can tell by, see that weird shape? It's square on one side, and then it's round on the other. That's usually a telltale sign. I don't even know if they made a Gen 3 rod that was full floating. But this is kind of what they look like. Obviously, the beam of the rod is a lot thinner. They do have this weird line down the side from the casting. This is out of a 5.3. You do have some numbers on them as well. We got a 143 here, and there's some various numbers on this one as well. Now, comparing them side by side, there is a little bit of a difference. The Gen 4 rod, obviously, it looks bigger. It's bulkier. I don't know if you guys can see that, but the Gen 4 rod is significantly thicker than the Gen 3. This Gen 3 rod has a press-in wrist pin, and the Gen 4 rod is actually full floating. So all you'd have to do to take this piston off, take the clip out right here, pop your wrist pin out, and put your new piston on as desired. Now, I really don't know the difference in power, what a Gen 3 rod could handle or what a Gen 4 rod could handle. If you're doing a build like me and you're not going full all out on the motor, buying a full rotating assembly, you're kind of working with what you got, and a lot of us are working with stock parts. That's just what we can afford and how we can do it. So in the stock parts world, I guess the Gen 4 rod is far superior. I've heard it can handle a lot more power. I've seen people throwing 1,000 horse at a motor with these rods on the bottom end, and they haven't had a ton of issues. I don't know what they were running for ring gap and all that stuff. A lot of them, I'm sure there are people that definitely blew up. But that's just what I've seen. So that kind of changes the dynamic a little bit. I mean, this motor is super clean, and we now have some good rods. I already went ahead and I started gapping my rings. I don't know about you guys, but I haven't gapped rings before. I've installed pistons, rods, and everything, but I've never actually set the ring gap. I just went with whatever it was from the factory. In our application, because we're going to boost this, we need to gap these piston rings. What happens, under boost, everything expands, and if these rings butt up together, it'll actually get stuck in the cylinder wall, it'll snap off the ringland, and then you have a pile of parts that you definitely can't put back together. For this specific application here, I took my piston out, I set the top, I set the bottom. So what I did, I took my speed square here, and I actually used this to square up the bottom ring, so that way it's all set. Because it's very easy. If you don't have the ring square, you're going to get a false reading in the middle. So make sure the ring is square. And then I just use the piston for the top one just like this. Press it right in there, and you're good to go. On this motor from the factory, what it gapped itself to, this thing does have 100,000 miles, some wear and tear. I had 25 thousandths ring gap on the top side, and I had 26 thousandths on the bottom ring. There are multiple ways, but this piston is going to be all set as far as the ring gap, so I'm going to reinstall my rings, and we can move on to the next one. To research any of this, you'll see everyone has something different to say. Some guys say 26, 27. Some guys say 25, 27, 25, 26. I mean, I've seen it all different. For my application, what I'm going to do, I don't know about you guys, but I like to watch Richard Holdner's videos. He's awesome and a great wealth of knowledge because there's so much out there that we don't know, and he tries to figure it out so he can teach us. He's a great teacher, and he's a great dude, so I love watching his videos. And he suggests running 28 thousandths on the top and 28 thousandths on the bottom. I actually already set that ring gap, so I'll show you guys what that looks like. Today we're going to be using my grandfather's 60s Snap-on feeler gauge. This thing's seen some stuff, and they definitely don't have quality tools like this anymore. You're going to take that, and you're going to set that right in your ring. It does go right in. I mean, it's a tiny bit tight, but it does fit right in. So that top one is 28 thousandths. And let's move on to the bottom ring. The bottom ring is also 28 thousandths. So this is, to my understanding, how you would check it. Like I said, this is the first time I'm doing this. So if you have any questions or comments, please drop them below, because I always like to learn new things. If I'm explaining something wrong, just let me know. Don't mind my toolbox. The shop's always a mess. This is what happens. If you guys have a garage or even anywhere you work, you guys know what happens. You take one tool out, the whole place explodes. There's tools everywhere. So, again, this is my first time doing this. If you guys have a different way that you prefer, let me know. This is my understanding how it works. Take your ring, push it right up against these pins here. Push your ring in, you know, nothing crazy, not a ton of pressure, but a little bit, because you want it to obviously file down, just enough. But pushing forward too is going to cause this ring to try to go together. And it's as simple as, sometimes I'll put my fingers closer right there too. It's just as simple as turning this. This will start grinding the ring down, or filing the ring down, however you want to say it. You don't have to go crazy with this. Right there is probably enough. That might even have been too much. All it does is just take some of that ring away in between. We'll get our proper gap. And then try it. Do a little bit at a time. Try it, and that's it. You don't want to go crazy with filing it, because obviously if you file it too much, you're done. You got to get a different ring. So if you take your time and go slow, you minimize the chances of messing up. Especially when you're trying to do a build like this. You know, I'm trying to keep this thing relatively budget friendly, but I'm also trying to do it the right way. Let's try it now. That's pretty good, guys. It fits right in there. So that's it. That's how you gap the rings. Very, very simple process. Take this ring out, put it aside. That's your top ring. We're going to take this ring out right here. And let's install them on the piston. This is the same process that I've been doing. Obviously, I told you guys saw how I do my dots. So now this rod is going to be facing straight up. Let's find the openings to that oil slinger ring, which is actually right here. A little portion there that's split and another portion there. So that's the middle. For every single ring, this is how I've done it. There are multiple ways you can do this. If you don't have a tool, you take your ring like this. Just kind of press it around. Install that, no problem. Like I said in the beginning, I want to be 90 degrees, how I'm doing it. I want to be 90 degrees away from this oil slinger. So that's right there at this face of the piston. If you wanted to go crazy and spend the $7 to buy the tool, that's it right there. I'm going to go 90 degrees away from that ring now. You spread your ring and that's it. I mean, it just depends on what you guys want to do, what your preference is, if you want to buy the tool or not. It was $7 on eBay, so it's pretty good to have. This is made by CRC. They made some really good stuff. I'm sure you've seen them before. They have the green and the red cans of Brake Clean. They're like one of the best in my opinion. Get some assembly lube. So obviously I'm assuming these are the factory rod bearings. Looks like this motor has never been torn into. But if you need the part number for a standard 6.0 rod bearing. That's it. When you guys are putting one of these engines together, I always put 2 dots where they're facing. So, like this rod facing out that way. This rod, I put the dots here so they're facing out that way. That's just how I do it. But for these, you really don't have to do it. The way these rods are, they're actually snapped. So they have to fit together perfect. You will not be able to put them together if you have it wrong. So you'll know, but it's just a good habit to get in because not all rods are like this. But the Gen 3 and the Gen 4 rods are. So once everything's all tightened up, you'll see everything go together perfect. See how they fit perfectly flush? We got 2 more pistons to do over here, then we're done. So the other day when I was doing this, I lightly zipped these down, but to get an accurate torque, I'm gonna loosen them again. I just rather be on the safe side. For this, I'm gonna have to use my inch-pound torque wrench because the one that I normally use, it only goes down to 20 foot-pounds. We need 15 foot-pounds and then an 85-degree turn on each bolt. So I'm gonna start off by torquing everything, and then I'm gonna go and do my turns. We should have cleared this up a little bit. In my application, like I said, I had to use a smaller torque wrench because my Craftsman one only goes to 20 foot-pounds. I needed 15. If you take 15 foot-pounds, that converts to 180 inch-pounds. So set your torque wrench at 180, torque everything to spec, and then you can do your additional 85-degree turn. Get that one right up here. I wish I could say this was sponsored by Miller Lite, but unfortunately it's not. But I really hope that stays there. It's probably not. Bad idea. We're going to put that right there for the moment. So, like I said, guys, straight off of Summit Racing for these Gen 4 rods, it is going to be 15 foot-pounds, 180 inch-pounds, and then it is 85 degrees. All right, we're back. We had to tighten up the ratchet. So I don't have any way to do a degree, but I do know what a 90 degree is. So from this is perfectly 90. This is perfectly straight. And we're going to go right towards the front of the block. That's about an 85 degree. It's not exactly 90. That's about, for what I can do, I'm going to call that good. Same thing with this side. I want to get this perfectly straight. Right there. That's nice and straight. That's just about. For what I'm doing, unfortunately, this is really all I can do. That's about 90 degrees there. That's pretty straight right there. I should probably invest in some sort of a degree wheel, but I don't have one. So guys, we do have a little bit of an announcement. It's nothing too drastic, but in my head, it's like the best thing in the world. I ended up buying a new truck. It's not new. It's new to me. And honestly, it might as well be new to me because I'm used to driving trucks that really aren't that good. This truck, really, really nice. It's going to get us to the racetrack a lot better. If you went and did everything correct, you can look at your dots on your pistons. In this application, they face towards the front of the motor. So that one's good, that's good, that matches, that matches. All right, so I did one side good. Let's move on to this one. There's the dot there. Same thing here, same thing there, and also same thing there. All right, I'm gonna do my best here and line this up, guys. The way these work, Before I pull that camshaft, I probably should tell you guys this. The way the timing works on this, see that little dot down there on the crankshaft gear? That little dot lines up with the same dot that's on the camshaft. That's it. It's literally dot to dot. Keep it simple. So you know the crank's all set. It's pointing right up. Then all you have to do is really line up the dots with the new cam. So very simple. Set it up before you pull the cam. I hope you guys are just as excited for this as I am. What do we think? Are the cam bearings going to be bad? Okay. The Milwaukee will not do it. But, you know, it sounded like it would. That's fine. We can break them by hand. That's no big deal. Really doesn't take much. All right, now we can use the Milwaukee. What do you guys think? Think the cam bearings are going to be good? Think they're going to be bad? I'm telling you right now, if they're bad, that kind of changes everything, because I might do a lot of my own stuff, but I'm not doing cam bearings. Our gear looks pretty damn good. So I forgot that these were Torx. I hope I got the right size. Never mind. I was going to say I hope I had the right size. But I had the right size. Come on, I knew that the whole time. I wasn't questioning that I had the right torque size. Come on, I definitely put things back where they belong. Make sure, like I already said, guys, please replace this if you want oil pressure. I mean, I've done it before. Just put the same one back on, and it was fine. But it's not worth risking it. So we are going to put one bolt back in. We're going to get a really long screwdriver. To pull the camshaft, it's really not that hard. Use this so you can pull out, and then the screwdriver is actually going to be, once you... Oh, I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. All right, I'm going to show you guys a little trick. Watch it not work. It should work, but hopefully it does. The lifters are going to hold this cam back. I've done camshaft replacements with the cylinder heads even on, lifters in, everything. Theoretically, this should work, and I've done it before. Obviously, I'm making a video of it, so it's probably not going to work, because that's always what happens. But let's take a look. So, theoretically speaking... Oh, of course, now it's going to hit. So we got to lift it up a little bit. There we go. So, theoretically speaking, guys, we're going to put our bolts back in, because I honestly forgot all about this trick. And I forgot we had to do it on these. This should have been done with the timing chain and everything on. But take the cam, spin the cam over, and those lifters are actually gonna, since the motor is upside down like this, the lifters are actually gonna stay in the trays. I should have showed you that earlier. I should have left the cam gear on, but once these all get seated, nicey nice, theoretically, like I said, it should work. It would be nice if they did, so I don't look like a complete idiot. Okay, wow. Just be gentle, go slow. Just like that. So this camshaft's actually good. It really looks like it's not even worn. I'm going to save this and put it aside for the kid at work. I gave him one cam, but this one might be a little bit nicer, so we'll give that to him. Okay, guys. It is time for the moment of truth. What's it going to be? All right, guys, here we go. I just wiped them down. Besides from the oil staining, there's no chunks missing. They really do not look that bad. That's the first one. Can't really see a whole lot. But there's no chunks missing. They look pretty damn good. So you know what that means? We're sending it. Believe it or not, it came off pretty easy. To reinstall, I'm going to take a little bit of lube. It's going to be very simple. Down below you have your keyway. Slide it right on the notch. Take the old one. Put it right on the crank. And we're just going to use the bolt and the impact. And it'll bring itself right in. I'm using a chrome socket, it's an impact. There's really no tension on this, it doesn't matter. I guess it could fly apart, but it didn't. I'm gonna put a little oil on this now, or assembly lube, whatever you want to call it. It's technically assembly lube. Here's our brand new timing chain. You have to put the timing chain on before the oil pump, just so you know that. Here is our oil pump. I just gotta play the game with it to line it up. More than enough torque. Just a quick little recap, guys. This whole bottom end right here, I took every piston and rod out. I got all the rings to 28 thousandths to account for this boost that we have going through the motor. I put everything back together. Everything's torqued. Remember, 15 foot-pounds, then an additional 85-degree turn. I have the new timing pulley on the crankshaft. We got the oil pump back installed. And then finally, we're gonna get the damn cam in here because I've been trying to do this for like 3 days, but life gets in the way and we're making some progress. That is the really important thing. This budget, beautiful plow truck race motor. Beautiful juice. This is just some CRC engine assembly lube. And I'm going to load this thing right up. Pause. I made a mistake. I should have never flipped this. I was keeping the lifters in the trays. That's why I flipped it in the first place, to show you guys that you can do it without taking the lifters out. Well, now I'm going to show you that you can do it even if you flip the motor. So, don't flip it next time. I've been doing this over the past few days. So, obviously, everything's been going wrong. And I have a lot of other stuff on my mind right now because I've been extremely busy with work. But if I can get this to work, it'll actually be pretty funny. You just kind of wiggle it back and forth and get it all lined up. Alright, so what just happened right here, that was an oddity. That does not normally happen. These lifter trays, sometimes they'll hold the lifters back, but sometimes they won't. Most of the times they won't hold them up. So if you're going to do what I do and don't want to take the lifters out, flip the motor over like I did in the first place, spin the cam over a few times, as many revolutions as you want, maybe 5 or 6. That cam lobe is going to take that lifter, it's going to push it, technically if the motor's upside down, it's going to push it down, and it's just going to sit in the lifter boards all happy. That way you go to install the cam, and the lifters will not be in the way. Please don't do that, because if you drop a lifter right out, and it happens to go through the bore, go through the block, it'll fall right on the ground. Then you need to replace the lifter. Don't do that. I made a simple mistake like that. I could have had to buy a, $200 set of lifters, because we're reusing these right now. You guys go to torque these, they're 18 foot-pounds. So this is how I always do it. Get my sprocket on. I know we're going to be going dot to dot. So loosely, I'll dangle the chain and then line it up. I actually already got it, so that's pretty good. The cam was in the correct space because I already lined it up. Just get one bolt set up. That way you don't lose your positioning. You're going to want to take your ratchet here and your torque wrench. We're going to torque these to 26 foot-pounds. You're going to hold the crank with the bottom ratchet, and you're going to proceed to torque the cam bolts. That really wasn't that hard. Now guys, that is going to be it for this one. It is time to wrap this video up. I hope you guys learned a little bit about my junkyard 6-liter LS. Maybe you can gap some rings now if you please. Maybe install a camshaft. It's really not that hard. If you put a little bit of effort in, you can by all means achieve the same thing I did. I'd like to thank all of my followers being patient and subscribing to the channel. You guys are the reason why we're doing this. And for anybody that's new, welcome to the show. We have a lot of stuff going on here. I have a ton of parts coming in from Summit Racing, Brian Tooley Racing, and even one of my favorites, eBay. So I will leave you guys with that, and I will catch you on the next one.